This is WFO Radio.
WFO, hopefully everybody is doing great out there. I'm Joe Castello, and WFO Radio Live is back. Winter Break Edition, where we connect with Alan Reinhardt, talk a little car talk, a little drag racing talk, and whatever else is on the minds of the WFO universe out there. If it's your first time watching the show, we ask you to, get in, sit down, hold on, be ready, and maybe even share the show out there on your feeds and bring in some new listeners. We're going to have a little fun talking some Lucas Oil Series champs. I went to the racetrack this past weekend down in Palm Beach, got a couple of stories here and there, had a couple of big show nitro cars out there from the Camping World Series. Bodie Smith was out there. Paul Richards was out there, had some jets. It was kind of a cool experience for what might be the final Citrus Nationals at Moroso Motorsports Park or Palm Beach International Raceway. So for the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, we'll be talking drag racing. Get in, sit down, hold on, all of that stuff. I love that. I love that. But first, I got to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to do this show, as in connect with drag racers. I'm talking about the folks at Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Did you know you can order individual rings from their website now? They've got the website tuned up, brand new website this year, and they've got it tuned up so you can order specific individual rings, which is an update. It makes things quicker, faster, and easier. They are trying to get quicker and faster all the time, both on the track and off the track. We got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower available. Gary Stinnett, great episode. How to think, not what to think, but how to think about certain challenges. Really great episode. TotalSeal.com. You can check it all out right there. And if you're going to PRI, make plans to hang in the Total Seal booth. We're going to be doing some Hidden Horsepower live stuff out there, and it will be great. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, is what I'm mentioning to everybody. You know, it is the holiday season, and Black Friday just went by, and Cyber Monday just went by. Today is Giving Tuesday. You know what would be a great something to give to somebody is a Dragster Adventure experience. Now, I know that's not what Giving Tuesday is all about. It's about charities. But Frank Hawley, what a great experience for your clients, your great friends, the people you want to get a gift. Check them out, frankhawley.com, and then, donate to your favorite charity at some other point. samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. We always think about the next generation of CNC programmers and crew members and crew chiefs and EFI tuners. They're all coming up through samtech.edu. Check them out at their website, samtech.edu. And then there's Marvin Rodak sending out coffee. Just got some coffee here the other day. And what a great experience it was seeing that box right by my door. Is that it? That's it. Opening the box and the aroma of fresh roasted coffee just for me fills my house. Wow, what a great experience. That can happen to you or anybody that you care about. It is holiday season. This is a great gift. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio, and they ship all over the place. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about the Patreons, how to join the VIP Listener Club. But right now, we're going out to Tucson, Arizona. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, awaits. What's up, AR? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. That Gary Stinnett Hidden Horsepower was really, really interesting. I mean, I know Gary pretty well, and he and I have talked about a lot of stuff over the years, but even I heard some stories that he hadn't told me before, and I thought that was a fascinating listen.
Well, the thing about Gary is he's a talker, right? Like, you strike up a conversation with him. At least with me, we got to know, you guys have known each other for a long time, but we got to know each other out there. And I just keep thinking to myself, not all the engine guys are the most personable, outgoing, free with information guys. A lot of them keep it internal. Not Gary. Gary is, he stole the show from us, Alan. He was, next thing I'm wrapping it up, and he's like, let me ask you a question. And it was like, oh boy, here we go. One of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Especially some of the old Warren Johnson stories and some of the things about, when he got started. I've been really fortunate in that I've spent some time in the world of professional racing on the inside where, you see some of that behind the stuff scenes, and you get to be a part of, whether it's testing, whether it's development, and a lot of the stuff doesn't work. But, the number of times when you sit there and somebody says, let's try this, and you're going, really? And, but it's really a fascinating world to live in. And it was interesting listening to some of the stories.
And we did find out that knowledge you just spoke of is the reason you're not allowed in the KB shop last week. Greg Anderson was on, and one of the audience, I would never ask such a thing, but one of the audience members asked to ask, and I was like, all right, here we go. And Greg said flat out, this guy knows too much.
Well, no, what he said is I don't trust him. That hurt. I mean, if I had feelings, it would. You know, if he said he knows too much.
I was trying to soften the blow, Alan, but yes, he did say that, which I found to be. You're a trustworthy guy. I know that. Greg should know.
I was down in North Carolina a few years ago, and I got a chance to wander through the Roush prototype shop, which is like, especially if you're a Ford guy, it's like the holy grail of stuff. And the number of times walking through the shop when it's like, okay, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, you can come through here, but don't look to your left. And it's like, because some of the projects that were going on, and I called Jason and I said, hey, look, I'm in the neighborhood. I mean, this place is probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes from KB. I said, I'll buy you lunch. I'd love to come by. And he said, yeah, let me check with Greg. And Greg said, no. He said, you know too much. He goes, other people walk through here, don't know what they're looking at. And I thought, okay, well, I took that as a compliment. But when he's talking to you and he said, I don't trust the guy, I'm going,
trust him. That was a little harsh. It was a little harsh. First of all, I know that you know all kinds of secrets out there and you hold them in. That's one thing that I get to know is that, some of the secrets are revealed at the same time, et cetera, and so on. But hey, Greg was great. Other than that, like what an interview. He did 50 minutes with us and pretty much opened it up to the audience, talking music, talking all that. That's all in the archive. Great stuff. But yeah, except for that part. But hey, that's your background, right? You do have some knowledge.
Yeah, well, if that's what it is, then it just gives me an excuse every time I'm down there. Sandy Wilkins' place is right around the corner and Hogan Manifold is right next door. Yes. So, whenever I'm in the neighborhood, I go visit people that will actually talk to me. And then just for kicks, I go over to KBC.
We got to get a big cardboard cutout of you and just like sneak it in there.
I was at Hogan's place. Hogan moved just a few years ago from Santa Maria down there, and they literally are across the parking lot from KB's shop. And Tyler invited me to come down and check out the new place, even though they were still kind of moving in and getting set up. So I said, well, I'm going to walk over just long enough to get thrown out of the KB shop. And I walked in and the receptionist said, can I help you, sir? And I said, is Jason Line available? And she said, well, I'll see. Can I tell him who's calling? And I said, Alan Reinhardt. And she says, okay. She picks up the phone. She says, Jason, there's a gentleman named Alan Reinhardt here. Well, that's what he said his name was. And I said, Jason, it's really me. And so she's like, okay. She said, he'll be up in a minute. And he came up and I said, hey, I was in the neighborhood. I thought and he's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, what? I said, come on. I see the Buick is sitting, it was like the first bay. I said, surely I can walk back as far as the Buick. And he said, no.
Wow. You got the parking lot tour.
Yeah. So, well, you can't get in the parking lot door because it's behind a closed gate, but I could, so apparently that will continue to be my legacy. I told Greg on the stage in Pomona, I said, hey, congratulations, your 5th championship trophy. I said, can I get a look at that real quick? Because I know I'm never going to be allowed to shop to see it again. And he kind of laughed about that. But, it is what it is. If he had come to our shop when I was working with David, there are certainly things in the shop that we wouldn't want him to see. So I get it.
There it is. Exactly. Well, you know what? I wonder how many people are going to swing by KB Racing and say that they're Alan Reinhardt trying to get in from now on, just to create.
If you want to get in, don't tell them you're Alan Reinhardt. That's
exactly. Monica out there says it's kind of harsh, a little harsh for Greg. And everybody's out there checking in, Alan. This is the off season. Mark says the often imitated but never duplicated Alan Reinhardt. And people ask you for your plans. Well, you've had a great year, says Dennis Page. What plans for 2022? Are you thinking about 2022, Alan?
Yeah, I'm going to retire and go sit on a beach someplace and watch NHRA.TV. I think that's the plan.
Well, there it is. There it is. I know a place with a beach.
I got two more just really quick KB things, just because I think it's hilariously funny.
Yes.
Chip Ellis apparently has a key to the place. I mean, he's there all the time, whether he's working on his motorcycle stuff or helping out or whatever. He apparently is, like a trusted, loving member of the family. And I was talking to Rob Tucker one time when they had wounded an engine and they kind of put it back together, but they didn't have anything. And he said, so, the KB guys told me, hey, bring it by, we'll put it on the dyno. And they're like, wow, that's cool. I said, they let you in the shop? He said, oh, no. He said, we went by and unloaded the motor, and they told us, go have lunch. We'll call you. And he said, they called me, and he said, look, here's what it made for power. What do you think? And he said, but they wouldn't let me in the shop either. So
Okay, so there's negative side to that, but I think there's a positive side to that. It's a signal to everyone who learns of it that these guys are serious about their secrets, right? Like, we think about national security and all this stuff that is kept secret. You think about the atom bomb and how secret we kept it. These guys are keeping their racing stuff secret.
Yes, I get it. Okay. And everybody has their racing secrets, but tell me the truth. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Warren Johnson. He's not going to walk through a shop and glance over and see an engine on the stand and go, oh, hey, that's something I didn't know before. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a cylinder head sitting on a bench, if you're going to let me go in there and see the thing and okay, maybe that's one thing. But by walking through and just looking around and going, hey, nice to see you. Hey, what's going on? Hey, okay, that's where you work on this. Okay, that's where you do the assembly. Really? What could possibly be snuck out of there? And to think that even if they said, hey, look, this is the deal, that I would share it with somebody else anyway, that's the way you lose access to every place. So I'm certainly not doing that.
Well, you got to listen. We got to create a trust building experience, and then we got to build up, like a feral cat, You got to, give it some food and see how it reacts. Okay. So you made a big mistake by telling the audience about the Mustang. They all want a repair update. And I think I know what the repair update is.
It's right there.
It's right there, but
I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm waiting on a new wheel, the left front wheel. I sent it to the local wheel guy here. He was able to straighten it. The lips that were tore up a little bit, but he said when he got to that point, it wouldn't true. And, it's a weld wheel, one that's welded, two-piece wheel that's welded together. It's got a floating center. So something in there is bent. He said it just wouldn't true. So I'm waiting for one of them to get here. And I'm actually waiting because this is the time of year when I can drive the car. And even though it's certainly not in pristine shape right now, but I can still drive it. And so I'm going to wait until we get later in the year when I'm on the road and when my body shop guy's not busy. So I'm hoping I can give it to him, and have it back in 5 or 6 weeks instead of, if I give it to him when he's swamped, he might keep it for 3 or 4 months just because he's going to have higher priority stuff. And I get it. So right now I'm just going to keep it and drive it. And then later on in the year, I'll send it to the body shop. But
yeah. Body shop.
All of the hurt was cosmetic. So, I can still drive the car and I can still, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just waiting for the new wheel to get here.
Sleeper. That's it. It's like, this thing's damaged. It's not even fast. Come on. But on that note, though, I guess it was last week, I was getting ready to maybe go run the Citrus Nationals. We had our conversation about the dry rotted tires on the GTO that are also like 10 years old. I think they were purchased in 2011. And so I went over and visually inspected, and I made the call like, all right, we're not going to run this thing. Doing something that is dumb in the cover of darkness and of night is one thing. But when we discuss it on the show and you bring out this example and here's a tire I cut down and here's the damage it did and it cost $7,000, at that point, there was zero chance I was going to bring the car up there and race it. But what did end up happening was a couple of amazing things, and I just want to share with you. So Scott Palmer watches the show, which I know that Scott occasionally watches the show, but he was watching that one, and he reached out and he's like, man, let me get tires for the GTO. And I'm like, get out of here. He's like, no, man, I want to sponsor some tires for the GTO so you and your dad can go racing, which I thought was like, Scott has sponsored the show with Magic Drive back in the day, and he is like diehard WFO from many years. And so that just went like right to my heart. But I went and talked to my dad, and he wasn't feeling up to it. Right. So at that point, that idea went by the wayside. We're going to get some new tires at some point in the future. But my friend did offer for me to double enter with his Camaro, and we went up and made a couple of time runs. But then the car developed a miss before first round, and we elected to not do any more damage. He thinks it's a coil pack, and that was that. So I didn't race. But I did hang out at the 40th Citrus Nationals. I did get up there and got a little drag racing. I saw Bodie Smith and Paul Richards match race. They had jet cars. It was kind of a good experience. For what was also a bad experience, probably the last Citrus Nationals at Palm Beach. A lot of rumors going on. You know how that rumor mill is. Oh, the soil sample didn't come back right. They're going to have to cancel the whole deal. I'm hoping that that's true. But it was a good weekend at the track nonetheless. But I did not race, and it is because of the wisdom that you imparted upon us. Old tires, don't race them.
What's the date on them? You said you bought them a while ago. Do you know what the date is on them?
I when I went out and checked, it was dark. I did not see the date, but I bet you it's 2011. 2011 or something like that.
Well,
yeah.
I certainly learned my lesson. So
yeah. Right. But had we not had the conversation and it had not come up, maybe I would have run the tires. But
everything would have been fine and there would have never been an issue. And so,
well, just like the people who were saying to my friend, and this is the deal, we're in the lanes for first round and he fires it up and that's when the miss occurs. And people are like, just dial up a second, go out there and run it. This is a 2002 Camaro SS with 30,000 miles. It's a really nice car. They were rare. There weren't a lot of Camaro SSs at that point. And, it's like, no, man, I'm not going to dial up 2 seconds and go run a car that's got a problem. Like, that's the thing. It's just the smarter way to handle a situation like that. Granted, it's tough. You don't want to bow out and just not race, but that's what ended up happening.
I would think you could try to find a coil pack somewhere. I mean, there's got to be another Camaro around there somewhere, right? Just go, hey, look over there.
Exactly. We just pull one right off. But anyway, we had a good time. So we're asking people for thoughts, comments, questions about what's going on. You've seen Antron Brown doing a great job posting all his videos inside the shop. He's got everybody talking. But what I want to do is kind of just get your take on some of our Lucas Oil champions. Run down the categories, think a little bit out loud about their accomplishments, what they did, and to look back and to become a champion. Now, when you're Luke Bagacki and Supergas and you pretty much have it locked up at Brainerd, that's one thing. But Luke has made a living and a good living of being the professional sportsman racer, like teaching others his trade, forming the group with This Is Bracket Racing Elite. I've got a friend who's a member, and he says that the in-depth conversations that they have over there are just insane. The training regimen that he puts his people through, he's like a head coach, right? You got to go out, you got to hit the practice tree once an hour for 12, all kinds of different exercises like that. Well, Luke puts them into a real competitive test and comes out a world champion in dominant fashion. Austin Williams ended up second. Good run by Austin, who is great. Johnny Labouche Jr. third, Rob Kropfeld fourth, and Jim Perry fifth. But in the end, though, Luke Bagacki, call it 100 points, 734 to 638.
Well, he kept the tradition alive that if you score 700 points, you win the championship. Nobody has ever scored 700 and not. I think the total that Luke had was like the 5th or 6th highest ever. Of course, the top 3 higher ever are Pete Biondo, and Pete Biondo. But, you score 700 points, you're going to win the championship. That's pretty much just it. But no, he got on a pretty good run earlier in the year. And, it just good car, good driver, knows what he's doing and goes out there and doesn't make mistakes. And I think the interesting thing, and, obviously he's got a column in National Dragster that everybody gets to read. And a lot of the insight there is just that simple. It is a really simple thing. The guy in the other lane can't do anything to you. So why worry about it? You can't look over there and go, oh my God, that's XYZ racer. You have to go up and do your job. And all of the information is available. If you have a weather station, or if you don't, you can certainly get access to one. You need to have a wind meter. You need to learn what all this information is. You need to put the information to use and then just go out and do your job. It's as simple as that. And if you do it right, there ain't no defense in drag racing. If you do it right, then you're going to get good results. You're not always going to get perfect results, but if you do it right, more often than not, you're going to get good results. And he has turned doing it right into a science. And, I loved he did one, whatever it was, somewhere around Topeka time, because it was about staging. Remember when we'd had the big staging battle out there? And one of the things I thought was interesting, he said, I couldn't tell you if I staged first or second because I just don't pay attention to it. I do the same thing every time. He said, I'm very deliberate with what I do. Some people say I'm slow, so they all know what I'm going to do. If they want to sit and wait, they want me to go in first, okay. And if they want to sit there 6 seconds, okay. Or if they want to dive in a double, okay. I'm going to do the same thing. He just pays no attention to anything and doesn't get distracted. And that, I think, is the biggest thing, is to not get distracted and just to pay attention to what you're doing.
No, the prototype. And hey, shout out to the folks on Twitch. We've been broadcasting on Twitch for a while and have gotten very little traction. And today, everybody you see with that little logo there, is a Twitch viewer. And so all of a sudden they want to know if your car is floating. Like, how is it happening on Twitch? They're not, how is it happening that car is floating? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But thank you to the Twitch viewers out there for checking out WFO Radio Podcast. And just to ask this guy's question, what is your favorite car, Alan? What is your favorite car?
That one.
There it is. You would imagine the floating car. When I learned to race, I learned
for those, if we've got anybody out there for the first time, I have a fabrication and machine shop. That's where I'm coming to you from. And my Mustang is sitting on the lift. We've got the front tires off of it after the one came apart and damaged the car. So it's not floating. It's just sitting on the lift. The blue post that you see right there is one of the 2 post lifts, and the other post is right there. And yeah, there you go. It's just sitting on a 2 post lift.
I kill a man for a living.
Actually, to tell you the truth, though, my everyday driver car's pretty nice one too. I could make an argument for that being the favorite.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's certainly more comfortable, right? You've got the 2 ends of the spectrum covered with Mercedes and 60s Mustang.
Well, see, that's why I have this one, because I have a car that is quiet and smooth, and I mean it's a twin-way AMG, so it's got plenty of power and does everything that you would want a nice luxury performance car to do. Why would you need 2 of those? So when I was going after this, I was going for, completely obnoxious, overpowered, and almost undrivable, and nailed it.
Exactly. Yeah, you did. Almost undrivable. Back to Luke and some of those things that he mentions, we like to see a burn down. We like to see a clash of egos in the old days. And you think of like Shirley and Connie, like looking over at each other and messing with the gloves, and it's personal, right? It's personal. But all of that, like I remember, and I reference it a lot, the Bruce Lee, book where he teaches you how to think about, like, any thought given to that is a wasted thought, right? Like, that's a wasted thought. It could take you out of your game, take you out of your motion. The way Luke is handling it might not be the most like exciting way where you're thinking about this clash of personalities as we like to for the fans, but it's the most efficient way. What lane? Doesn't matter. Who stages first or last? Doesn't matter. None of that matters. I've got a plan. I'm going to execute. I'm going to go execute it. Now, if all racers were that way, it would probably be a less exciting environment. But if you watch Luke's successes, why would you not want to emulate that? And you mentioned Peter Biondo. The one thing he said on this show that I always remember, because early on in WFO history, I was trying to extract all this information in case I ever went racing again. And I got it here, by the way. Race without fear was the Peter Biondo advice that he said, like, Peter, what is the number one advice? Race without fear. He goes, people are scared. They go up there. They don't want to lose. They don't want to have to go home. They don't want to, the pressure of the fear of like, oh man. And he said, if you can get that out of you, which is hard, obviously, because everybody gets nervous, you're going to be a much better racer. Just go up and do this routine of things, and X percentage are going to go your way. X percentage are not going to go your way. And you just take it. You're going to be much better. And it sounds like Luke's got that same attitude, and that's why he's a champ once again.
Well, when you say X percent are going to go your way and X percent are not, you're trying to maximize the percent that do. And, you do that. And it's a complete different form of racing when you're talking about like Top Fuel racing, when, you're talking about Shirley and Garlitz or Connie or back in the day, because that is a different thing. Okay. If you and I are racing in the nitro classes, or if you and I are racing in pro stock, and you've got me covered, or you've got a performance advantage, then if I can go up there and I can get you out of your game, or I can get in your head, or I can get you thinking about something else, why wouldn't I? But the answer is, why would you? One person can't play starting line games. If we both go up there, we both pre-stage, and you go bink, I got 7 seconds. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
But when you're talking about sportsman racing, especially in the .90 categories, when you can control everything, right? You cannot outperform me. If I do my job perfectly, I win the race. It's as simple as that. So I need to get as close to perfect as possible. And hopefully my close to perfect will be closer than yours. So that, I think, is a little bit different mentality. You see some of it in the pro ranks. And I still think it's funny when guys are up there playing the games. And I mean, believe me, from my seat, I love it. Okay. If I can get something to talk about, or I get something that'll pump the crowd up, that's wonderful. But if I'm the guy that has the best car, I mean, if you look at Greg and Erica when they were racing in Pomona, if Erica goes up there and plays a game, I completely get it. Completely get it.
Right.
Why in the world would Greg do that?
And there's no reason.
And so that's the whole thing. He's got the better car. Don't get sucked into somebody else's game when you are in control of winning the race. And it's really, if you're in the .90 classes, don't get sucked into somebody else's game because they can't stop you and they can't outperform you. So don't let them get in your head.
Right. Create a 10-thou window for them to drive through. And if they can do it on certain occasions, well, more power to them. But if you can, and that was always my strategy. The numbers were a little different, but just, create a hole. And if they can drive through that, then great. But chances are they won't. And I made a great living, and this is years and years ago, but other people, they make mistakes. They make mistakes too. Right? You're not the only one that's going to make a mistake. So if you can be as mistake-free, there's a lot of good things that can happen, let alone, go out there, be 00, be dead zero. You don't have to do that. You got to just be mistake-free and do your thing. And Luke is, I think, the epitome of that. Although there were failures this year for Luke. 2 wins. He failed to deploy the parachute for his little boy. And I had to call him out on the stage, Alan. I hated to do it. But Luke, if you're out there, I had to do it for the boy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
the one mar on his championship season.
When Gary starts skipping school and acting out, we'll all know where it manifested, right?
Yeah.
It all started, when he was
Smoking.
4, what is he, 4, 5?
When it turns wrong, it's right there. At the time my dad let me down with the parachute, I realized life was hard at that point. All right, Luke.
What you said is just part of it, okay? If you go up there and you say, okay, I'm going to leave a 10 window, and if a guy can drive through it, a guy can drive through it. If you do that on a consistent basis, like guys like Luke and guys like Stennett and guys like Christopher Dodd and guys like Austin, if you can do that on a regular basis, now you've got me pulling up going, okay, I've got a 10 window to get in. And if that takes me out of my comfort zone or gets me thinking about your game, then that's when you have the advantage. And there's, it's as simple as that.
Yes, exactly. And many layers. And that's why, like Luke teaches a class, man. And apparently it is open now until Friday to be a part of Luke's program. I don't mind. We're making money for Luke Bagacki, and that's what happens when you become a champion. All right, let's talk about Super Comp, where Christopher Dodd wins again, back-to-back Super Comp World Championship seasons. 582. Second was Ray Miller III, 569, who, you can only have so many great things happen to you in one Ray. Right. Child is born while you're winning the Jegs All-Stars. Like, come on. Bob Prost third, Devin Eisenhower fourth, Nick Eisenhower fifth, Gary Stennett, who we spoke about a little bit earlier, in sixth. Tight competition. But in the end, though, Christopher Dodd becomes the second person to win back-to-back Super Comp World Championships and joins. Is it third? I can't see your finger there. Fourth? It's fourth. So I know Langdon. Who are the others? Or if you have them?
Edmund.
And
Gary Stennett.
Stennett back-to-back. Look at that. His name keeps coming up. Go listen to Hidden Horsepower.
Well, he talked about it on Hidden Horsepower. That's when he said it, I went, wow, really? And I had to go back and look. So I can't believe you don't listen to your own show, Joe.
Yeah, it's funny when it's happening. I just, that one slipped right through. And then in editing, I also missed it. So
yeah,
thank God for WFO.
About it when he was playing with the high gear only thing for a while there, that he won back-to-back.
I won back-to-back. Speaking of that, there's something that I bet most people don't even understand are happening. Like when you're a Gary Stennett or a Christopher Dodd, Gary illustrated he's got 2 setups for his car to ultimately do the same thing. It just does it in a different way, right? He's going out there running 890s at big speed, but one with a 2-speed transmission, one leaving in high gear only when the track is a little, sketchy. And all these guys that are high-level guys, Christopher obviously one of them, they're showing you different looks. They're not doing the same thing every single time because then the other guys will figure that out. So they're showing different moves. And that's where the comparison to playing poker comes in for me. Sometimes you lose on purpose in poker just to throw somebody off of what you might do a couple of hands down the road to beat them. Maybe nobody's losing on purpose, but you're showing different looks, a lot of different looks. And for Christopher Dodd to become the 4th to win Super Comp back-to-back championships, the guy he's elite.
Yeah, he's pretty strong, no question, especially when you've got the target on your back. That just makes it even more difficult. But he has got a car that has always been solidly consistent, does a good job on the starting line. And same thing, he pays attention to the numbers, pays attention to the weather station, pays attention to the wind, and knows when we've got to make an adjustment here because the wind has changed. Maybe it's only 100th or 100th and a half, but that could be the difference between a win and a lose. And 100th and a half could be the difference between that 10 window you were talking about and leaving somebody a 25 window to get in. And all of a sudden, you've given them more room. So, the job that he and his dad have done the last couple of years has been, just spectacular. Winning it once is tough. Winning it again when you got the target on the back, it just goes to show you the fact that in all these years it's been done 4 times. And when you look at the other 3 names, I mean, we're talking like Hall of Fame Super Comp guys, right? Edmund Richardson, Gary Stennett, and Sean Langdon. I think if you ask any Super Comp racer in the world, how would you like to put your name on that list? The yes, please would probably be the response. And Christopher Dodd absolutely belongs there. He earned it.
And I noticed Christopher in the pro stock pits a fair amount, helping out various people. And, I know he's got some relationships over there. Past back-to-back Super Comp world champions and Super Comp world champions in general tend to get the attention of pro-level teams. Just saying.
They do. I mean, because you're showing, it's not a matter of, how fast your car is necessarily. It's a matter of concentration. And in NHRA Championship drag racing, concentration is such a big part of the game because you can't flub and then make it back on the next pit stop or, get it back on the next lap or get it back. If you screw up, you're done for the day. And so that's why focus is so important. And that's what you're showing somebody, whether you're running Super Comp or whether you're running Stock Eliminator, if you're going out there and winning championship after championship, you're showing the pro teams that you can focus when you're in the car, that you don't get distracted, that you don't make mistakes. And that's what you need. That's the one thing that is exactly the same between pro racing and sportsman racing. You've got to focus on what you're doing because all you got to do is lose concentration for a split second. You lose the race.
Exactly. So we got some people out there in the chat section, maybe first-time listeners who are home. Normally they're working or whatever the reason. We ask you to share the show, WFO, like our page, watch on YouTube. But Hunter says, what does everyone think about the 2022 Toyota Supra Nitro funny car? And I was just getting ready to delete this photo. Thank goodness I didn't. Thank goodness I didn't. I know Mark Orbilis did an excellent photo shoot with the actual Supra right alongside this super funny car, the GR Supra, which is very, very important in the name, by the way, Gazoo Racing Supra, which is their worldwide racing deal. TRD is going to be restricted to the NASCAR universe, but I like it, right? I remember the first time I saw, what was it? It was Tim Gross, I guess, with a 240Z funny car back in the day. And I was like, ooh, Japanese funny car. How does this make me feel? I don't know. But now I'm into it, thinking about Alexis and JR Todd running that thing. They had a lot of input, JR especially, on views and sightlines, and he was a big part of the development. I say it's great. And what was Antron Brown doing with one in his shop? That's what everybody wants to know.
You don't have to know everything.
I know, but we will eventually. That's the best part.
Remember, Antron Brown's been a part of Team Toyota all the way back to like the David Powers days.
Yes.
When Antron left David, and let's see, I think Mike Ashley bought the team after that, if I'm not mistaken, then moved to Schumacher. If you recall, Schumacher at the time was a very staunch Dodge team. And Toyota wasn't willing to give up Antron. So that was part of the deal. It's like, if you want Antron to come into your fold, you have to accept the fact that he's got a Toyota relationship and they're not letting it go. And Don obviously was able to make that adjustment. So, it was important enough for him to get Antron and get that team under his umbrella. But Antron's had a long, long relationship with the folks at Toyota, and I don't see that going anywhere. I think it's very positive for both of them.
Exactly. So if you got more questions, put them in the comment section, and then we're going to bounce back to our sportsman conversation. If you're going to be WFO, like wide freaking open, you got to be like able to maintain 3 or 4 subject matter all at once on WFO. Like we got Chris Garrettson going back to the throttle stop. He says with the top end stop, you don't have to be 10, 20 or 25 is good because you're basically negating your opponent. You can't do anything and you can't do anything. And who's going to win? I like blind squirrel racing. Every now and again, they find one.
Well, and that's another thing that, you talk about guys getting out of your comfort zone, right? If you're talking about a speed differential coming up on the finish line of, 8, 9, 10, 12 miles an hour, That's not too difficult to judge. If you're talking about a speed differential of 65 miles an hour, that's way more difficult to judge. And that's when you kind of just do the duck and cover thing. If Chris Garrison has done that, Tim Nicholson has done that. A lot of guys have had a lot of success doing that simply because it is very different. And that gets everybody away from their normal comfort zone.
Yes. And what is it? Tim Nicholson in the red, in the green Camaro with the Lenko.
Yeah.
He won St. Louis a couple of years ago, and I don't know if he was the first top end throttle stopper to win, but he might have been. And that was kind of a sea change because a lot of people are doing it now. And why not, right? Like go against the grain for personal gain. If everybody's doing one thing, maybe you should do something else. Like Britt out here, he says, I find listening to music before each round helps with staying focused, says Britt, VH. And that's the Iron Eagle style. Right? Like Iron Eagle. You may remember the movie with Louis Gossett Jr. The kid would always play a tape and he said it would fly better. But Sean Gann used to listen to music on the racetrack too. I don't know. Depends on the music.
Melanie Troxel used to wear earbuds almost constantly and never listen to anything. That was her way of just everybody would leave her alone. If she saw her with her earbuds in, then they just assumed she's listening to something, she's doing something. She said, don't bother, don't talk to her, don't. And it was a great system that worked very well for her because she's just trying to focus and get in the zone. She doesn't necessarily need to listen to anything. She just doesn't want to be distracted. And if she had her earbuds in, people wouldn't bother her.
You know what's funny is that's making a big comeback. I was just reading one of those useless stories that you see on the internet, and that wired earbuds, which are no longer technologically necessary, are making a big comeback. And you might wonder why. Well, certainly they're cheaper, but they say that the Apple ear pods that everybody wears, right, that they're so integrated into your look that people see you with them and they don't think anything of coming up to you and asking you, hey, because there's a good chance you're not listening to them. But these guys keep people away. People see these and they assume you're on the phone, you're having an experience. They don't want to deal with all of this. And so people are using this for exactly that point. Melanie Troxel was, 15 years ahead of the zeitgeist.
Okay. I'll buy that.
There it is. It's just a little factoid I'm dropping on you, Alan. They don't all have to be valuable. Just factoids. Jerry Emmons, stock eliminator world champ, happened at the finals. He and Joe Santangelo had a shot in the final race. Joe went red early. That had to be tough. Todd Hoven third, Wes Neely fourth, Jimmy Hidalgo Jr. fifth, Chris Hall, Kyle Rizzoli, Matt Lisa, Justin Lamb, and Scott Burton rounding out the top 10. But that Jerry Emmons win, very popular, 647 points, very closely contested. And I can't think of people more deserving than the Emmons brothers. He's the second Emmons brother champion, and now they all got to get one or else.
Well, yeah, good for them. And they certainly deserved it, for all that they've done for the sport and all they've dedicated. But as happy as I was for Jerry, I really felt a little bit for Joe Santangelo as well. As hard as he has worked and as hard as he's chased and what he's done to go out there and go after it. If he had ended up winning the championship, I would have felt bad for Jerry, but I would have been thrilled for Joe because of the effort that he's put in and how strong he's been so many years to be able to climb that mountain again. And, who knows, right? Woulda, shoulda, coulda. If he could have had his cars out west, would that have made a difference? I don't know, but every time you get into a close battle, no matter what it is, and you're looking back, right, about, the pass that got dropped in the second quarter or, the red light that you turned on in Atlanta, that at the end of the year now, man, that was a race, we could have won. We could have added 40 more points. We could have done something. And so it was a fun battle to watch those two guys who are both, veterans, who are both very good at their craft. It's a shame that they race in such different places that they don't get a chance to go head to head very often. Because when you got, the Emmons boys from down in Texas, south of Houston, and when you got Joe, who's out of Connecticut, it's pretty rare that the two of them are on the same racetrack. And I just think it's more fun when they get to go head to head from time to time. And those guys don't get to do it very often.
Yes, exactly. And Joe was so good at the start of the year. Like he was just killing them in stock and super stock. And that guy is a great racer. And I don't know, maybe someday that's what the Jegs All-Stars is. But you have to earn that. I would love to see like an invitational, like sportsman stalker, badass invitational 16 driver race. And I know the Cummings brothers have kind of done something like that where they invite people in, but we've got such great characters. I've spent the morning, I'm doing this E-Part Trade seminars deal. And, I'm off today, but I'll be back on tomorrow. We're going to have Greg Anderson. We're going to have Antron, maybe Caps. It's going to be great over the rest of the weekend, but the rest of the week rather. And it's free for everybody, by the way. But they were just talking with Zach Brown from McLaren, and they had Ross Brawn from Formula One, and they're experiencing such great success. And what did they put all their success on? The Netflix TV show and the character, like the quality of their characters, like their drivers are all interesting people. And I think, yeah, I'm sure they are, but our people are so much more interesting than anybody. Like we've got such great personalities. You think of Jerry Emmons, you think of Joe Santangelo, like just those guys. They've got interesting bios. They're good people. They're great characters. We just need to find ways to shine more spotlight. And we're talking about stock eliminator, right? Like what many people consider, it's just this unique category of these real amazing cars, and you got to maintain the heck out of them. But ultimately, the driver gets it done. Jerry gets it done. He wins the championship, and we just got to find ways to expose them more.
Well, that's what we're doing here, right? So, it's difficult because if you look at NASCAR, they have one champion at the top level, then they have one in Xfinity, and then they have one in trucks. So they have three champions that they need to look for some sort of exposure from. And obviously, Kyle's going to get the majority of it because of the story, because of the domination he had on the season, and because he is the Cup champion. Well, in NHRA, we've got 16 champions, and we've got division champions, and we've got regional champions. And so that just makes it difficult, I think, for everybody to get what they're due because, Steve Torrence has been crushing them for 5 years now. I mean, he's won 4 championships, but really he's been the dominant car for 5 years. He deserves to have the bright spotlight pointed at him. You look at Ron Capps coming through and winning his second fight. He deserves to have the bright. And so at some point, you just run out of spotlights or you run out of time to point the spotlight at each person. So, the chance that you and I have to come here and do it, I think that certainly helps. And I hope that the racers appreciate it because, I'm as hardcore a sportsman racer as anybody. There's a reason I'm there every morning at 7:00, to start playing the music and start calling stock eliminator to the lanes. Even if I didn't have to be, you'd have a tough time having me not be there.
Exactly. Chuck says he saw Joe race at Brainerd this year, stopped by his pit. It was a true treat. And Chuck was saying, and many others say, that the sportsman racing is what makes the national event experience unique. You've got all the nitro cars and the pros out there doing their things, sure, but you can get lost in the pits and just a sea of cool and amazing cars. And that's what the attention of the pits show is for. And so many different elements. Just go get lost in the pits and meet people. And, that other thing that's happening, you gotta figure out. That's the challenge. Not enough time, not enough spotlight. Big problems for NHRA drag racing. Good problems to have though.
And that's why, I do so many of the Lucas Oil events when I've got an opportunity to go out there and do a divisional event or do a regional event, because that gives me some time to go down and get to know and get to, do a little mixing and mingling that I don't really have at the national events, simply because my schedule is so jam-packed, between all of the commitments I have plus announcing. That doesn't leave me with a whole lot of opportunity to go down in the sportsman pits and to see those guys and to get some of those stories and do the stuff. Fortunately, over the years, I've had an opportunity to interact with a lot of them. But, the guys that are coming up here as of late, I haven't had an opportunity to go down and say hi and just go down between rounds and, ask about the car and ask about the stories and do that stuff, which I believe is a big part of my job because, there are two parts. Like you and I have had the conversation how many times, you need to gather information. Yeah. And then you need to disseminate information, and you have to gather that information someplace. If you're just going to sit in a tower and go, here's a blue car, here's a red car, you're not really being, you're not being much of an announcer. You might be sitting there telling everybody who won, but there's an entire event going on. There's a lot of stories out there to be told, and getting the opportunity to go out and learn some of them, or at least a part of some of them, I feel like is a very important part of the job. And it's just difficult to do now at the nationals. And again, that's why I love going to the regionals. And for fans, if you're out there, if you love the cars, if you love the stuff, yes, the nitro cars are awesome. And yes, the pro stock cars are technologically amazing. But you know what? So's Top Sportsman. Go out and check those things out. And if you go to a divisional event or a regional event, 1, the tickets are considerably less. 2, the crowds are considerably smaller. So it's easier to move around. It's easier to go to concession stand and get a cheeseburger. It's easy. And if you want to take the time and wander through the pits and talk to the guys, it's just a much more laid back atmosphere. And you get an opportunity to see the real hardcore sportsman guys that are out there. That's one thing that NHRA has that I think a lot of other sports wish they had, is the fact that we have these events stand alone for our sportsman racers, that they can go out there, and it may not be as grand a stage, but they still are the ones that get the spotlight focused on them that week. And the fact that they get to race at the same tracks as the national event cars do, and also at a lot of different tracks. I mean, Woodburn, Oregon is one of my favorite places to go. It's a fun little community. It's a great racetrack. The family that runs it is spectacular, and the racers are as hardcore as anybody. And it's just a great event. It is a fun. It's very competitive, obviously, when it comes down to that part, but it's also very fun. It's family oriented. Their golf cart race is legendary. Yeah. And it's just a fun event. And that's something that, the casual fans can go be a part of. And again, tickets are cheaper, crowds are smaller, way more opportunity to wander around, talk to people, and get information and see the cars up close and personal and get the stories.
Yes, great stuff. And I remember going to divisionals at Moroso Motorsports Park. And over the years, when it became an NHRA track, that all went away for the most part. And they just lost touch with the front gate. The fact that fans want to come see cool cars. They don't have to be 300-mile-per-hour cars. They just have to be cool cars with fun people. And I think that even with the Lucas Oil Series right now, that we can grow that, because people want to go see. And like Scott says, I think NHRA.TV has done a remarkable job of exposing sportsman racing. I've really become a big fan. I agree. It seems like, the only thing you hear people say about NHRA.TV over the first 5 years was, oh, it didn't work or whatever. But the reality is that this thing has become a vital part of the NHRA drag racing fan experience. And it's great. This year we had virtually no downtime, and they got it really sorted out. It was great. And that's how you get to know what, about Randy Lynn Shipp. That's how you get to know about Jerry Emmons, about what's going in stock and super stock and all these guys. They become names and personalities. You hear them said over again, Christopher Dodd, and you go and find that person and you become their fan. And I think NHRA.TV has done, maybe more than any other single element to unify the drag racing fan base as to what's going on in sportsman racing, because you can watch it. Duh.
It certainly has helped, the fact that they get the exposure that people can go see. And for those who don't know, NHRA.TV at many of the regional events is free. The pro events, the Camping World events are a pay-per-view service. But we did, 10 or 12 probably this year of the regional or divisional events that were streamed on NHRA.TV for free. All you had to do was go in, create an account, don't need a credit card, don't need anything. Just say, hey, I'm here. I want to sign in. I want to watch this. And, you get an opportunity to check out some of the sportsman racing. But, I've always really had my heart there, because as much as I love the pro classes and when I started racing, that was an unattainable goal. Certainly in my eyes it was. But to go out there and be able to run weekends at a bracket race, to go out and I had a little bit of success in my little small pond here that I live in. But that's why I'm in awe of guys like, Dan Fletcher and Gary Stennett and guys and Bogacki, who go out and win on a regular basis against the toughest competition in the country, because I know how difficult it is to turn those win lights on.
Yes, absolutely is. Garrettson, with stock and super stock, it's like a car show thrown into a race event. Yeah, car show and historical. Like, some of these cars should probably be in a museum, not being touched, and instead they're on the back bumper racing. All right, let's talk super stock. World champion Greg Stanfield. This one started early, right? Greg, and I'm not really running the championship. Yeah, right. He goes out there and wins his fifth. Ricky Decker second, Jimmy DeFrank third, Joe Santangelo fourth, Bertazzi. Think about those guys that Stanfield beat. Jimmy Hidalgo Jr. sixth, 2 top 10s for Jimmy, Kyle Rizzoli, Jody Lang, Kent Hanley, and Scott Burton, rounding out the top 10 in super stock. And he gets to win a championship in the same year as his son, father and son. How many times has that happened, Alan?
Once now. Yeah. That was
this is it, right?
Yeah. The thing about Greg, though, is that when he was racing before, he won his 4 championships, and then it's like, okay, family and business and racing just kind of took a back burner. He actually sold the car, and then he ended up in pro stock truck. He ended up in pro stock for a little while. but I don't know that he ever really had the desire to go back and run again. I mean, I think it was kind of a been there, done that. I've proven what I can do. I've won championships 4 times, right? Nobody's going to tell me it's a fluke. I'm one of the best to do this. And now I've moved on and done other things, but especially after you work your way up to pro stock and have success in that category. But then I think when his kid started racing and he was going out there, it's like, it'd be fun if I had something to do here as well, because Aaron is very self-contained. Okay. I mean, It's not like Aaron goes to the races and, Dad, you got to help me with this. Dad, you got to help me with that. Dad, you got to do this. Dad, Aaron is very self-contained. So if Dad's going to go to the races now, he's got to have something to do. And the fact that he was able to lay his hands on the same Camaro that he drove back then to all the championships, I think that just made it, even sweeter to come back out there. Now he's going out there and having fun, but he certainly hasn't forgotten how to do it. And when you get to the point, again, like Gary Stennett said in the hidden horsepower thing, right? I'm not chasing. Oh, look at the points. If I just go to 3 or 4 more races, I got a real shot at this. And when you start having that much success early, you almost have to go after it.
Yes, well, they're rare. And, he went out and he won at Bristol, first time I've been racing this place, Joe, for 40 years. This is my first win here, like that pride. This guy's won the U.S. Nationals in pro stock. Greg Stanfield Racing Engines. I have a feeling they're going to be powering a lot of those factory experimental cars, just saying. But what a year. And then the kid in Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown. It's almost like, yeah, Aaron, you won championship again.
Yeah.
Call
You're
us
still 3 behind.
You're still 3 behind. But what a great family. And I just can't help but think about the best job that Greg did is with Aaron, like raising that kid to be a tenacious go-getter.
And he's so mild-mannered, right? And so quiet and so just, I'm here to take care of business. He's not a guy that's going to jump up on the roof of the car and bang on his chest and go, look at me. He's just going to get there and he's going to take care of his business. And he's also really, really smart. The fact that he is the guy who does the computer tuning on so many of those factory showdown cars. He is hands-on in the engine shop, putting the stuff together. Total package. But if you're going to grow up in the Stanfield family, you're going to be able to do more than just drive the car, because that's always been their way.
There it is. And I look forward. And for those of you who are watching your first WFO radio show on YouTube, WFO Radio TV, subscribe, click the bell. We're going to have all these champions on. We're going to talk to them all before the Winter Nationals in February. That is always my goal, to speak with them all. And last year, one of them escaped, Alan. One of them did not get spoken with. You know who it was?
I do not.
Christopher Dodd. Yeah. We were just waiting for him to win back-to-back.
Okay.
That was it. Thank God.
Well, you may have to go down to Double Oak, Texas and kidnap him.
Well, whatever it is. Competition eliminator Bruno Massel joins a very elite group of people who have won 3 competition eliminator world championships. That's a crazy stat, right? Like a category that is not really dominated by anyone. David Billingsley 2nd, Frank Aragona 3rd, Pete Dagnolo 4th, Greg Camplain 5th, Joe Mazeras, who won races, Ryan Warder, Joe Aerosmith got that really fast GTO and runs our WFO radio sticker, by the way. Thank you, Joe and Dad. Cody Lane and Dean Carter rounding out the top 10. But Bruno doing it with the 2JZ Toyota Power with the twin Garrett turbochargers. That thing is fast, and like Bruno does not care. He is willing to try all kinds of different combinations.
Yeah, I think it was also interesting that Daryl Heron was working with him this year, taking care of the chassis setup, taking care of the gearing setup, taking care of making the car work, not necessarily making the engine work, but making the car work. And he's a guy that's been around some pretty high horsepower door cars. And I don't know if maybe that was the one thing that was missing, because Bruno in the past 4 or 5 years has had really fast cars, but has not had a ton of success come Sunday. And whether, like I say, whether Daryl was the missing ingredient, that he realized, hey, when the track is changing, when this is going on, that we need to make these adjustments, we need to make these changes. But he certainly had a great car. And he went after it the second half of the season, which is kind of interesting, because he had a slow start and then chased it down in the second half of the season. When you've got to decide about, well, gee, do I want to take time off of TV to go out there to Vegas and race and try to win the championship? And then you go out there and make it pay off.
Yes, well, exactly. And Daryl is a savant. He's one of those guys. And when he was working with Bo and they won the championship in Pro Stock with Bo, and just seeing his fabrication skills and then what he did with Bo's Factory Showdown car, Bruno said he'd been trying to get him over there for a while, and look, it worked out. It's a different kind of sport, right? Like one person can't do everything anymore, not at the championship level, I don't think.
No, I agree. You need to be able to concentrate on what you need to be able to concentrate on. You need to have somebody you can trust to concentrate on the other stuff. Just if for no other reason, to free up your mind and free up your time a little bit. I think that, that was proven. And that was one of the things that, Warren Johnson, all those years, it's like, well, he and Glidden did it all, right? Just me and my kid, or me and in Glidden's case, his two kids. And then when guys started coming in and hiring engine specialists and hiring chassis specialists and hiring, I think you proved that I don't care how smart you are, there's not enough time for one person to do everything. You've got to have somebody else that can come in and take some of that responsibility off your plate. Because if you're working on something 4 hours a day and I'm working on something 10 hours a day, I'm going to be in front of you. And so you need to find somebody to take something off your plate so you can work on whatever your specialty is a few more hours a day. And, that's become the norm now in every category out there.
And that's why I was hitting Greg Anderson with all of those questions about, like, what time do you wake up? Like real basic, weird life questions. Like, what time do you wake up? What time do you call it a day at KB? Like, when does the whistle blow? What, like trying to figure out the amount of hours that they're able to put into these things. And we all know that you set a target for when you're going to stop working, and that never happens. But I found that to be so interesting. And it makes perfect sense that Bruno is able to bring on more hands, more work, more eyes, and high level, and he won the championship.
Well, I love two of the things that Greg said is, one, and it's something that I learned really early on when I went into the pro stock world. If there wasn't a race scheduled, we would never be ready. Never. You never get to a point where it's 3 weeks before the race where you got everything packed in the trailer and, okay, let's just go take a week off and let's go do something because we're ready to go. You've always got something else you want to work on. You've always got some project. You've always got something you want to refine. If there wasn't a race on the calendar, you would never be ready to go racing. And the second one was the times when you get involved in something, right? Whether you're doing something on the dyno, or maybe you're whittling away on something, or maybe you just got this stupid idea that you want to keep playing with. And you're playing and you're playing and you're playing, and you glance at the clock and go, hey, it's 2:00 in the morning. And there were literally a couple of times when David and I would be working on stuff at the shop, and it's like, hey, man, it's 4:00. You want to go get some breakfast? And it's like, nah, let's just call Ed and have him grab something on the way in because he'll be here in about 2 hours, and we just keep working. And when you get into that, you're zoned, you're focused, it's, for me, and I do the same thing here sometimes, for me, it's easier to just go than to stop and then come back tomorrow and try to pick up again. Or especially if I feel like I've got some momentum and I'm getting some stuff done, I'd rather just keep working.
I agree with that. That is my mentality as well. Maybe it has to do with the drag racer all direction drive or something. But once you get into a mode, a zone where you're working and you're going and you're grooving and you're focused and you're not going to be broken out of it, getting back to that place is sometimes a challenge, and you might as well just keep going. That is kind of interesting. All right, let's do top sportsman and top dragster, and we'll save the alcohol cars for next week, another show, because they deserve their own conversation. But Jim Essex is kind of trying to get us motivated. Him and Rachel Meyer. He emailed me a photograph. He says this is his favorite photo. He gets to hold the championship trophy. That is pretty great. But Jimmy Lewis wins in Vortex Superchargers top sportsman over Paul Mitzos, 589 to 566. Shout out to Paul. Paul's an excellent racer. Last year's champ, Darian Bosch, third. Ed Olpen, Kurt Frederick, Vince Hoda, Jerry Albert, Doug Bracey, Alan Firestone, who had a good year, and Doug Gabur, who started off the year very well with his Pontiac GXP, the top 10. All great racers. Like when you read the top 10, it's like, man, killers. Your top 10 in the world, in any category, the NHRA, you are a very good racer and you got the rep for it. But in the end, though, Jimmy Lewis comes back and he called it, what do you call it? Bracket racing pro mod cars.
Yeah. And he won the Pinocchio Award too for telling me in St. Louis that he was done for the year and then showing up and winning Dallas a week later.
Yes.
But he got a hot streak at the end of the year. If somebody would have said Indy, right? If you figure Indy's basically it's not really the halfway point, but basically that's the break, right? We start thinking about championship chase after Indy. I don't think that Jimmy Lewis was on a whole lot of people's radar, but all of a sudden, that the car in the first part of the year, the times that I saw it, it looked like it was a little bit on the evil side. When you're putting that much power in what's basically a pro stock car, you can certainly put your toes over the line. But it looked to me like it took them a little while to get the car happy. And once the car was happy, man, hold on, because there was just no stopping him. They had the transmission problem with the thing in St. Louis, and he actually came up. It was at the regional race, if I'm not mistaken. And he came up in the tower before first round and just wanted to let us know he was broke. He says, I'm packing up. I'm headed out. I don't want you guys sitting around tomorrow morning going, where the hell's Jimmy? Where the hell's Jimmy? And so, just let everybody know. And I said something about, we'll see in a couple of weeks. And he said, no, I said, I'm done. He said, I don't have a spare. He said, the way everything is right now, he said, it'd probably take me 4 or 5 weeks to get back on track. He said, so, I'm done for the year. And then, of course, the next time I saw him was in the winter circle in Dallas. So I said, I gave him, the Pinocchio award. But he called his transmission guy and he said, hey, look, here's the deal. I'm going to send it to you. And the guy said, well, get it to me right now, and was able to get it turned around and get it back to him in a day. So that put him back on track. And I think for Paul Mitzos, Paul just had a tremendous year, and, woulda, coulda, shoulda, who knows, but last divisional race of the year where Jimmy needs points and Paul is there and has an opportunity to stop him at a racetrack he's very comfortable with, he's real familiar with, and then his car blows up. He was able to borrow the car from Ryan Pretty, teammate, which is, they're A-altered.
Sure.
But he's now in an uncomfortable car trying to block for the thing, and it just ended up coming up a little bit short. But I think, Paul Mitzos had a heck of a year, and I think that he has now gotten comfortable enough in the car that I think he's going to be a force for the next half a dozen years or so.
Which is great. And you don't come in second and then just give up. Watch for Paul Mitzos knocking at the door. They say you gotta lose one close before you can win one. And certain. All right, we got a question out there from Drag Race Central. Any news on the NHRA driver in SRX for 2022? I saw Brian Loans tweet something from someone about SRX changes and an NHRA team going to be part of it. I don't know what's true or what's not true, but Tony Stewart, who is now a drag racer, should definitely want that to happen. And I have no doubt there's a lot of people like pulling on his coat to make it happen.
Well, what I saw, and I don't know that this is gospel, but what I saw is that there was a list of maybe. Here's things we're looking at. Maybe, we're looking at maybe doing this. We're looking at maybe doing that. We're looking at maybe doing this. And one of the things that was on the list is we're looking at maybe involving somebody from the NHRA. I'd love to see it, but I don't think that it's anywhere near yet. Hey, what driver are we going to pick? There's certainly a few of them out there that would have got enough experience driving cars. Ron Capps competed in Tony's Prelude to the Dream a couple of times up at Eldora, and certainly, held his own. J.R. Todd's got a little bit of experience on dirt, not a ton. Doug Coletta obviously knows a little bit about driving those things. So, there's definitely some possibilities out there. But as of right now, my understanding is, we've got a list of 7 or 8 things that we're looking at potentially doing. We're not anywhere near who's going to be the driver.
Got it. Well, there should be. I would hope that there is some sort of NHRA representation with the folks that were involved last year. I think that our best round track driver, whoever that is, could do what some of those other guys did, like fill the field, be a big personality, bring some fans to buy some tickets, and then maybe go out there and factor into the race. And who knows, do as well as they can. No disrespect to anybody that was out there, but that's the whole point of the series, right? To create these interesting situations that we never get to see.
Well, Tony Stewart's an NHRA driver now, so maybe we'll just adopt him.
Genius. All right, top dragster. Right. NHRA driver Tony Stewart. Top dragster. Vortex Superchargers top dragster. Blake Peevler, 578. Danny Nelson, 565. Ross Larice, 534. Jeff Strickland, Anthony Bertazzi, Al Peevler, Bradley Johnson, Holden Larice, Darian Bosch, and Ryan Carlson. So Darian top 10 in both cars. Danny Nelson top 2 in points each of the last 3 years. First, second. I don't know what he did the year before he was first, but my goodness, Danny Nelson.
He hadn't had his eye surgery yet. That's
yeah,
what he
was like, Mr. Magoo out there. And then he got his eye surgery, and he has finished no lower than second Dan Nelson, amazing chassis builder and race driver. But Blake Peevler gets the job done. World champion. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think that was probably the quietest championship because, top dragster, nobody really took the reins early. Nobody was dominant in a category, and you'd have somebody that would win a race and somebody that get hot and somebody that would make a move. But, at the end of the day, he was the one that ended up carrying it. And when you read down that list of guys that are in the top 5, I don't think that anybody can argue that he earned it. When you've got those guys who are all coming after you, who are all multiple race winners and who all know how to get the job done, I think that's a pretty impressive feat.
Absolutely. And they will have the number 1 on the car next year. Alan, great job. Any final thoughts you want to throw out there before we part ways on this beautiful Tuesday?
No, I just hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And, we've had 2 weeks off now, so there's got to be a race this weekend. I'm just, the 2 weeks off is enough. So I'm, lobbying for a pre-winter nationals or maybe World Finals Part 2, something. Let's just, bring everybody out to Arizona where the weather's beautiful right now, and let's have a race.
I like it. I like where your head's at, Alan. I appreciate it as well. Here in sunny South Florida, we would be eager to host the East Coast version of whatever you're talking about. We could have like an East Coast, West Coast thing in the future. Great job. Appreciate you. Next week, we'll talk about the alcohol ranks and keep on going as we get ready for PRI, which is going to be great. I know you're going, right? PRI?
Yep. I will definitely be there.
Are you traveling on Tuesday, or are you going to be there already?
No, I travel on Wednesday, actually.
As do I. All right. Alan, great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, Joe. Enjoy the rest of the week. I will talk to you next Tuesday.
All right. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. And there you go, like a little debrief session on the Lucas Oil Champions in 2021. And we did not talk about Sean Bellemere. We did not talk about Rachel Meyer. We will talk about them. And again, my goal is to hear from all of the champions. That is what WFO is all about, and that has kind of been how we have done it for the last 10 years or so. All right, now I know everybody likes to jump off as soon as Reinhart is over, but I am going to try to encourage you to stay with some cool videos and photographs from this past weekend out there at Palm Beach International Raceway. For those that don't know, WFO is located in southeastern Florida, like by Fort Lauderdale area. That's where I tell everybody. Like, it depends on where I am, but I say Miami or I say Fort Lauderdale, but it's really South Florida. That's where it's at. And my home track was Miami Hollywood Speedway, but my second home track was Moroso Motorsports Park, Palm Beach International Raceway now. And they have their legacy event called the Citrus Nationals. This past weekend was the 40th Citrus Nationals, and it's exciting and it's sad all at the same time. The sad deal is that there are many, many rumors that the track has been sold to build a warehouse complex to supply like Walmart, like a distribution hub, or maybe it's Amazon. We don't know exactly, and they're very tight-lipped about the information. And I was probing people at the track, asking for information, and nobody seemed to know anything, right? It was, we don't even know who it is or what it is or what's happening or when the track is closing or if the track is closing. Nobody seems to know anything. So I took it that this was going to be the last Citrus Nationals ever. And it was very solemn and sad because this facility was so great. Let me flip a couple of photographs up there. Like, this is my buddy JJ's Chevy 2. Kind of looks like the car Dave Connolly won in Bradenton with. And this is my crew of friends there, my friend Rick and Lee rocking their WFO gear. And, the sign you could see, like, I'm a big sign guy. Like, I love signs. People don't realize it, but, you watch American Pickers and the stuff that they go through in people's garages. And when a sign gets old, that's never good. So I would recommend to all my track operator listeners out there, don't let your sign get old. As soon as your sign gets old, your business is, not good anymore. You've got to keep your sign going. And I just took a photograph of this sign. Like, is this the last time we're going to have a Citrus Nationals out there? I wonder. My buddy Rick with his Camaro, rocking his WFO shirt that we got from Nitro Fish. It's got a cool looking car. The inside of the tower, this is a place that I have called many races from and got a lot of my early start, and definitely the return to announcing happened right here at Palm Beach International Raceway. And it's pretty crazy. I was doing WFO and, hadn't announced a drag race, been a talk radio host for many, many years, but hadn't announced a drag race in a long time, was racing myself on a pretty regular basis. And a friend, Susan Pollock, who, from what I understand, is now deceased, may she rest in peace, was working at Palm Beach early on when they first converted the track. And she reached out to me, which is so funny. What an ingenious idea, right? Like reach out to someone that lives in the area to announce their, I think, Super Chevy show or something. And I got back on the mic and I had a nice gig that day. And I kind of reawakened the announcing gene in me after, 20 years or 15 years. So spent a lot of time in this broadcast booth, looking out there and checking out the track. They had a good crowd, by the way. But it was just so sad to see it go. The folks from Racers for Christ were there. It was a good deal. But the big show part of it, which they did, in my opinion, not nearly enough advertising. Like, of course, you could just advertise and fill every seat, right? Or you could not. They had a decent crowd, but they had Paul Richards and they had John Bodie Smith. So two Paul Smith, a Florida drag racing legend, two Big Show Nitro funny cars out there on the property. And I took a quick video in the staging lanes. Let's check it out.
Need a track tip, Dave? So Joe.
Hey, how you guys doing? Nitro cars at Palm Beach.
How you doing, Joe?
Great. How about you?
Put the radio back in. All right. Hey, Dave. Hey, Megan. Reach in my cockpit and turn the air off. What's the track? You got a chart? Switch right there. Look at this guy.
Here it is, driver.
Look at this guy. He's usually on the other side of the camera. How about that?
There it is. There he is. Bonzilla in Florida. What's up?
What's up?
Enjoy some warm weather before I have to go back to New Jersey.
That's it.
Yeah.
You got this thing tuned up?
Yeah,
All right.
it should be a good run.
What's it gonna run?
I have no idea.
Ballpark it.
330, 270.
Get out of here.
Why not? That's what it runs on the big show tracks.
You ready? What's up,
brother?
How are you?
Good?
Good to see you.
We're
When's the last time you raced out here?
Hooked up now?
Last time was at Nostalgia Funny Car.
All right.
Jungle car. In the jungle car.
Really?
Last time with Henry.
All right. All right.
So we had a blast.
We're excited. Got quite a few people out there.
Yep, this is my old home track. Graduated class of 85, Atlantic High School in Delray Beach.
Hometown hero. Here we go.
Hometown, and Dave's hometown, Wellington. And
Hopefully you're not
see
here.
who can kick some butt.
Hopefully you're not here to close it down.
Nope, I hope not.
We gotta
hopefully, hopefully all the people realize how important this place is.
I agree. I do. Certainly.
All right, brother.
All right. Have fun. Good luck.
Thank you.
And there we go. That was kind of cool experience, seeing everybody just get ready in the local atmosphere, and Bodie's there, and right, South Florida drag racing. There's so much going on. I do have another video I'm going to share of the car going down the racetrack, right? Because why not? Let's see him in action. The 40th Citrus Nationals, Palm Beach International Raceway, formerly Moroso Motorsports Park. John Bodie Smith, Paul Richards, both tuned by Paul Smith. Big Show Nitro Funny Cars. So we went 328 at 250 miles an hour. And how about the location of that camper right by the track. Oh my gosh. You know, when they redid the facility over there were a couple of things that they did. I was like, guys, but that's not for me to say, right? People don't listen, but we had a great time. One more. So I didn't get to run my friend's car, but I guess they oiled the track. There was a little bit of fire on that one for Bodie. And so there was a prolonged cleanup. And so then the jet happened a little bit later. Paul Richards got crazy sideways. That's available on social media as well at the nighttime run. Bodie did not run again, but car went hard left, got up on two wheels, put on a show for the fans. But there were jets, and, you know, everybody loves jets. So let's watch the jets. Elaine Larson, who's out portable, driving in. All the professional videography here, guys. Drone flies high above. Right now, I'm thinking not too close. And there you have it. A little action from the final Citrus Nationals at Palm Beach International Raceway, formerly Moroso Motorsports Park. And, you know, I will tell you this, you know, since it's a rumor, since there's just rumors out there, you know, here's what the hot rumor was. Okay. Because finding information about this track and whether this track is going to be around and survive, there's all kinds of just misinformation, disinformation. So I don't know what's true, but I heard from 4 different people something about soil samples and that the ground is not compact enough to build warehouses there. That's what people were telling me. And I'm like, I don't believe that. That's like hope beyond hope, right? Like the soil samples came back negative and they can't build there, right? I don't know. It doesn't seem legit to me, but that's what everybody was talking about. The soil samples, they'd have to demuck the place and will cost millions to do it. And that it's not a viable location for big, heavy trucks and warehouses to be coming in and out. They'd have to do more stuff. That's what people were saying. I'm not saying it's true. I have no idea. I'm just, disseminating the rumor. Simple at that. All right, let's hear what everybody's got to say. Get your comments in the comment section. Final comments about whatever we've talked about here today. Final comments. Well, I tell you about great stuff, like some great stuff like the WFO store running wild. Yes, the various sales, 35% off. Everybody kind of going on board. I've been blown away by all the different stuff, including this gear, this design, going like gangbusters. People really loving everything that's up in the WFO store and all the discounted rates that we have. I am pretty excited about it. And we're going to keep on going with this, with new art and new designs and all of that. And if only everything is on sale for 35% off. Are you kidding me? And the answer is yes. And what I'm trying to do is grab my link so that, I can put the link in the comment section there. You saw me move the camera, which is not the best, but I do what I got to do. Right? I got to do what I got to do. I'm putting the link in the comment section right now. If you want to order WFO gear, there's the link and you can get to it. But it has been heartening to see how many people have been into having the WFO stuff, and we're going to get some fan-friendly stuff up there ASAP. All right. Who else helps out WFO Radio? I can tell you, Torque Calibration Services of Australia. For those of you that are down under, we've got the Bathurst 1000 this weekend. Going to be very interesting. And Matt has been keeping us up on all of that. It'll be very interesting. And our Patreons, he is one of them. We got a lot of Patreons that are watching the show right now. If you'd like to join the listener club, go to patreon.com/WFO radio, or just go to the website. You can click on it from there. And then, like the tried and true sponsors of WFO radio, like Marvin Rodak, rodakscoffeeandgrills.com, 817-924-6821. Support the show, get some great coffee, and knock off someone from your Christmas list, all in one place. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, totalseal.com. You can now buy individual rings from their website, and you can check out Hidden Horsepower. Why would everybody not go and listen to the Gary Stinnett Hidden Horsepower immediately after the big Alan Reinhardt endorsement, right? Totalseal.com. It's available on the website. samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. And if you would like to be featured on WFO Radio on a weekly basis, reach out to me, Joe, at WFOradio.com. Big shout out to our friends at Nitrofish as well, Bo and Randy Lynn. Can't wait to have them back. Keelan and Tamara in the trailer, being in that Nitrofish trailer. That's how I knew WFO was real. It's like, wow, they sell shirts at the races. All right, let's see what everybody's got to say about various subjects. Let's see. Thanks, Joe and Alan from Montana Karting Association. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you. But we don't stop until the week before Christmas. That is when WFO will halt. We're going to keep on going. We'll be back right after New Year's, and we'll rerun a lot of our programming during the week of the holidays. So please share the show. Let it go. Good to see Rhonda. It's sad with the rumors of track closures. Enjoy it while we can. Yeah, Brett Kepner, who was on a couple of times this year, though, has a really good mental state about this, and he'll be the first one to punch back when people say, "Oh, the tracks are all closing," that new tracks are being born as well. And it's just so sad in this particular case because I feel like they could have the preeminent facility in the Southeast for drag racing. That the culture is there and the facility is there. What's not there? Like the want to. And you've got these sports car guys there. There's a road course thing. I lost you for a second, but now I'm back. Let's see. Love the video, Joe. Thank you very much. I decided to take a little video. I should have done some interviews. I could have done everything, but a little quick video. You know, I'm out there to have fun. Monica, great show today. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone. There it is. The link for WFO gear. Great show, says Dave. Dave, thank you very much. Hopefully you're doing well. Soil samples with Pratt & Whitney plant across the road. Well, exactly. But it's not so much about is the soil, contaminated. It's the stability. You know, you can build these giant warehouses on top of what is all for intents and purposes a swamp, right? Like you can have a racetrack there but can you have all of that? Like, I don't know. Is that smart business? That's what everybody was saying. They were all saying that it's something about soil samples. They got to demuck it. Great merchandise. Loving all my WFO radio gear. People in Australia. Matt bought a shirt last week and had it in 4 days. They print them in Australia. All our WFO listeners down there. Hit the link. You can get stickers. You can get face coverings. You can get all kinds of stuff. Wall tapestries. It's amazing. Great show, Joe. Enjoyed Ignition also. We had a great time on Ignition. It was a quickie. I'm doing this thing with ePart Trade. I'm hosting tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. There's going to be a considerable amount of drag racing. Total Seal is going to take part with their trackside tech talk bit. Keith Jones and Lake Speed. So if you didn't get to go to one of the Total Seal trackside tech talks, you can watch it online tomorrow. ePart Trade, eParttrade.com. You can sign up. It's free. I will be hosting various seminars. I can tell you that we'll have Total Seal. Where's my schedule? Yeah, Joe is unprepared, but that's all right. Tomorrow, like today, they had Ross Braun and Zach Brown from Formula One. Like these are heavy hitters, guys. You might not be into the whole Formula One thing, but Ross Braun and Zach Brown from McLaren dropping nuggets about the secrets to their success. And I'm like, writing them down. But let's see. So it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Total Seal and Rottler are going to do their trackside tech talk. I'll be hosting that. But then on Thursday, Greg Anderson will have Greg. And then on Friday, Dart and Antron Brown. And we're waiting on confirmation from Ron Capps. So it's going to be very interesting. Ray Evernham's going to be a part of it. Doug Yates going to be a part of it. A lot of interesting things going on with the EPAR trade deal. If you like watching streams like this, they've hired me to do it, so there will not be WFO for the rest of the week. I encourage you to join epartrade.com and tell them you signed up only because of me. That'll get me back there. Ruh-roh. Yeah, let's see. Joe, do you think South Florida could support a national event? No doubt. No doubt. In fact, I think that the South Florida national event would immediately, like if we could create a track out of nothing, the immaculate track, created from nothing, I think it would immediately become the most attended national event on the tour. And you might, people scoff when I say that, but it's true. We are look what's happening with Formula One Miami. Okay. NASCAR was a tough sell in South Florida. And since then, they've become successful at Homestead Miami Speedway, and they figured it out, and they know how to do it, and they do a great job. But NASCAR is not really the DNA of South Florida, as much as the Allison family came from South Florida and originally got started in Hialeah, and the whole Alabama gang is really South Florida. And we had our great tracks, Miami Hollywood Speedway. There was a round track out there, and Hialeah Speedway. There's all kinds of old school legacy. But the diversity of South Florida being the gateway to the Americas, South and Central America, you go through. There's a Puerto Rico drag racing is huge, 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 huge. Aruba has drag racing. There's so many places that have drag racing in the Caribbean. You would have all of that. But the Latin culture is much more connected to, I think, the concept of drag racing, powerful cars and short races. I think it would be the most attended, if we wanted that, the most attended tour race, because you just have so many people down here that love a big, wild, crazy, fun event. 300-mile-per-hour nitro cars. Like, that would sell itself in South Florida. People would have to go see it. Whereas, NASCAR, when we sold NASCAR in South Florida in 1999, 2000, 2001, and the folks from Homestead Miami Speedway were coming on my show on 560 QAM every week, we got a lot of pushback. The Deep South thing didn't sell very well down here, and the caution about, all that goes along. Like, I'll say, redneckiness. Oh, it was a recoil to that. Drag racing doesn't have that. Now, much of that is gone from NASCAR. Like, NASCAR doesn't have that anymore. But that was the hurdle, the opposition. People were like, oh, do we want to go with that? Meanwhile, Formula One sells out 60,000 seats in less than 24 hours, and the cheapest seats were $800. By my calculation, they made over $50 million before, in 24 hours. And I really think that the drag racing experience is closer to the Formula One experience. Like something you can't even imagine. So, yeah, if they could put together, a 20,000 seat drag strip that is a high-level facility where they had first-class restroom facilities where people come to expect what they get at the Heat Arena or Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play, it could become, the single best event on the entire tour, in my opinion, with definitely the most diverse international audience. Definitely. Like right now, what's the race that has the most diverse and international audience? Like, is America an is drag racing an international sport? Yes, it is. The Middle East, you got South America. I was talking to the guys from Fuel Tech yesterday. It's a Brazilian company. There's a lot going on. But what race is the most diverse and international race here in the States? I don't know. Where does that? Vegas, probably, right? Because Vegas is an easy in, easy out. Indy, right? Because it's the biggest. But how are we growing our sport internationally? That's why the NHRA absolutely should figure out how to build a facility in South Florida, closer to the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. Except that's very, very challenging. Like what I just put out there is a near impossibility. Because the property values, the value of property, why do you think these IHRA guys, they try to sell off all their tracks and they're really going to only end up selling one of them? Or, one is going to cease to be a track And that's the one in South Florida because the property values are through the roof. Hundreds of millions of dollars, something like 60 or 70 million is the number that's been thrown out there, where the other stuff is like, 6 million, 8 million, 10 million. And I'm just throwing out numbers, but you understand when you're down here in South Florida, you have limited real estate because we have something called the Everglades, the river of grass, one of the natural wonders of the world. And if you do believe in things like the environment, as I do, and keeping our oceans clean and, not drilling for oil off of Key West, right? Which people, down here, they want to do it. Yeah, man, let's drill for some oil right in the Florida Keys. Yeah, the Florida Keys, people come down to fish, and we got to keep that pristine. That's the balance of what's going on in South Florida at all times. People want to develop. We've got a very thin strip of land between the shore, the beach, and the Everglades on the east and the west coast. And the whole middle is pretty much just Everglades, just swamp. And we have found that, we can build over it. We could do it, but it's probably not a good idea. So all the land is extremely valuable. To build a drag strip alone, that's not going to happen. You'd have to find a way to partner with someone that's already doing something major, that's already going to be there, and figure out how to become part of something else. Like Homestead Miami Speedway. Could they do it? I can tell you NASCAR's not going to do it. But could they do it down there? Yeah, they could. They've got an infrastructure. They're a racetrack. They're connected. That could happen. But, who's going to spend that money now? Now we're looking for, I don't know how much it takes to build a track. I have no idea. What are we talking? $20 million to build a first-class facility that has wonderful VIP sections and sight lines. And I'm telling you, it's got to be a first-class experience. People do not. I don't know about where you live, but going to sit on a board plank in the baking sun and pee in a bathroom that's got, a rat. People don't do that here. And I've always said it, like that's what's holding back drag racing right now, is people have stopped accepting like overflowing urinal. They don't go anymore. And that's where we're at. So let's see. Final comments before I get up on here. Maple Grove is the most international. I don't know. I love Maple Grove, though. Do they let you drive the car for $800? They do not, Scott. Just to get into the inaugural Miami Grand Prix for a 3-day event is $800. It was $840 per unit. And now you can't find them for less than $1,600. Isn't it funny how that works? In one event, they could literally purchase all of Palm Beach International Raceway in one day of sales. That's what we should all aspire to, because it can happen. We have the personalities and we have the cars. Pave over Immokalee. Well, Immokalee is an airport racetrack. The thing about Immokalee, Ralph Hester and his son have done such a great job. I remember when they came around, I was there the second week it was open. But it is an airport bracket track, 8th mile bracket track. You can't, and a national event there doesn't work. It's in the middle of the Everglades. It's, you got to go where the people are. Got to go where the people are. Drag racing needs to find a way to have a street course race is really what they need to do. They need to find out a way to have a street course race in the middle of a town. Like close the town down, pay for the town, and bring 20,000 people in the town to watch top fuel dragsters on a main street somewhere in America. Go to where the people are. Zach Brown was on the EPAR trade deal, and they were talking about how IndyCar can emulate Formula One in their success and why IndyCar has been so far behind Formula One's growth. And Zach Brown said, well, the show is a big part of it, the Netflix show, but also you got to go to where the people are. And some of your, he said flat out, it was because some of their events have become stale, that things need to change, that there needs to be a new look. And it's so true. Things have got to evolve and update. If you do the same thing 10 years in a row, man, a lot of people are going to get bored of that. So anyway, Immokalee, not an option. Homestead's owned by NASCAR. I doubt that. I doubt it too, but you never know. Like, what's the deal we're making? Drag Race Central. Like, wait, who's paying for what? Are they leasing the deal? Are they letting what's the deal? NASCAR doesn't hate drag racing. There's no negative blood between the two. That's not the case. In fact, what I gather is there is a whole lot of mutual respect between those two organizations, going back to Wally and the France family. So, yeah. Now, what happened in Chicago is a totally different scenario. But Chicago, my people within the NASCAR organization always mention Chicago Joliet as a failure. Yeah, we didn't really do it. Too far from the city, out in the middle of nowhere, and you deal with winter. So don't compare. There's no winter in South Florida. Like right now, it's December practically. The weather is beautiful. Like we could have a national event January 2nd. You could do something crazy. You could do a $500,000 invitational event in the middle of the winter. We don't have winter. That's the thing. We have summer. Summer's uncomfortable, but we don't have winter. So you can't compare us to Joliet. You can't compare us to anywhere. Our tracks are open all year long. Drag strip, oval track, sportatorium seem to work. Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know who that is, but the Miami Hollywood Speedway, the track that closed, they had a round track, high banked, third of a mile, something like that. They had a big concert venue stadium. Yeah, what an epic fail. That could have been where the Dolphins play. That could have been where everything is. Oh, well. Hey, how's it going from SoCal? It's going great, Edwin. So happy your driver's back. Told you we'd get it done. Got to have flush toilets. Absolutely. Got to have good. Listen, I don't have all the problems solved. But one that I have been, just saying over and over and over again, fix your bathrooms, track operators. Fix your bathrooms. Because every racer has got a wife and a daughter that probably don't want to come to the gross-ass racetrack that you've got. Because of that. And you wonder why everybody got an RV. Because track operators don't keep their bathrooms clean. Simple as that. It really is as simple as that. And oh, well, spectators don't want any part of that, man. Clean your bathrooms. I go to tracks. And I shouldn't say this, but I am surprised very often when I enter the restroom facility, right? Before a national event. They could have brought a pressure cleaner in here and just cleaned up a little bit. Like they could have, like there's a handprint smeared on the wall or something. Nothing bad, like grease. But how hard is that? Jim's just puffing up the show. Paul Mitzos is a great person. He's one of many encouraging me to keep the faith and get my pro stock license. I agree, Jeff. You should definitely keep the faith and get the pro stock license. That's 2022. Let's apply a little pressure on you, Jeff. 2022 is the year, Jeff. I know you're fighting some stuff, but you're beating it. 2022 is the year, Jeff. So feel free to announce after the turn of the year where and when you'll be getting your pro stock license right here on WFO. Hello, Kingman Street Drags. Well, there's the whole thing up in Detroit, that Roadkill Nights. They do it. Leah does a burnout on the streets. You got to figure out how to go where the people are. Now, to prep a street would be really hard. Maybe you'd have to lay down some specific concrete, but don't be hindered by what is not possible. Instead, open up to what is possible. And that is what's going on right now in our world. Like when you think of SpaceX and you think of all these things, and the people who are really getting ahead are the ones who are not restricted by what is not possible. Think big. Can we do a street race somewhere? Dude, that would be the best thing ever. Use the stoplights for the green. Let's not go crazy, Troy. But yes, something like that. The neighbors bitch about noise and traffic. Yeah, some would. And the ones that have businesses would be thrilled that people would be coming in there. That's the deal. The local community didn't want Formula One. Miami Gardens didn't want Formula One. Like $60 million was made in their neighborhood, much of which is going back to the neighborhood, and they didn't want it because of, ignorance. They were talking about noise, and everybody knows that Formula One cars don't have noise anymore. And fumes, very noxious, toxic fumes was their deal. They lost. But you could tell that it was a complaint by these neighborhood busybodies that just want to complain about something. Like everybody knows about it. Like we have got those people everywhere, right? That person on your block that just wants to complain. I went to the Giovanni in Miami's workplace, and I parked in a spot. I was like, oh, you got to move your car immediately. The guy like watches the security camera. If anybody parks in a spot, that's his life. He loves that. He goes out, and we have that and everything. You're going to have pushback on whatever you want to do. We want to cure cancer for everybody. It's going to be free. Oh, well, wait, what about all those cancer doctors? How are we going to, keep them working? Like, you got to be creative. You got to forge ahead. You got to make it happen. And I'm pretty excited about what's going on at the NHRA right now because I think they're really trying to do that. No winter. That would be nice. It's too bad that we just shut down here, Monica. You could have got in. But now, no more people are allowed to move to Florida anymore. You've been banned. All of you. It's pretty sad. But you didn't hear the announcement, but it happened. No people are allowed to move to Florida anymore. Wait a minute. I saw it snow in Hollywood. It did in 1977. It snowed in Hollywood. I was alive once, waiting for it. Less and less. We can't even kill the iguanas anymore because cold weather kills the iguanas, guys. You're not allowed to kill iguanas. We were kind of overrun by iguanas a couple of years ago. It's a thing on the Ignition Show. You should really listen. But last year, it got cold enough for about 5 days that I would say 80% of the iguana population did pass away, unfortunately. But they are gone now. But now they're coming back. And so a couple of cold days this winter will be great. All the empty trash cans daily. Yes. The street race would need to resurface a smooth entire road. That's plus shutdown, bringing timing systems, putting glue on the track to get a car to make a full pass. Yeah, I don't think any of those things are impossible. None of those things are impossible. Did you see some of the things that we did this year? Did you get the tree from the track? Yes, I did. That's how I got the tree. Did I get the one from Palm Beach? No, I don't think I'm going to get that one. Street race, Chrome Boulevard in Miami. Wait, that already happened. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Street racing and having a professional drag race on the streets in a sanctioned environment with insurance and safety crews, a totally different thing. I get the branding problem, though. But I don't think they should be afraid of that. They run the Kingman Street Drags on a portion of the original 66 right next to residential neighborhoods. Exactly. Get some nitro cars out there. Get the Buc-ee's plumber to do the bathroom. Okay, I got to tell you guys, I'm ashamed to say this, but I've never been in a Buc-ee's. I hear it's great. Everyone's got me super excited to go to a Buc-ee's. There was one next to the Texas Motorplex nearby. I did not get to go there. I am assured by everyone that if I'm going to go to a Buc-ee's, I need to block out an hour or more to truly experience it. Everybody knows my fondness for retail places like Wegmans. Oh man, Wegmans as a grocery store is incredible. And they all say that Buc-ee's is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know, but I will go to a Buc-ee's at some point. Maybe over the holidays. I'll be in the Houston area. So we'll see. All right, guys, little bonus remix there. I went a little long, but I wanted to share the conversation about the Citrus Nationals. And who doesn't love Wegmans? Wegmans is the number one grocery store in the entire country. It's insane. I mean, we've got Publix down here, but wow, Wegmans. Do they make it? They got it in Wegmans. Simple as that. And, there's Harris Teeter and all of those, Food Lion and Giant and all that. But man, I love me some Wegmans. I haven't heard a retail location with as much buzz as Buc-ee's since Wawa. Everybody loves Wawa. Oh my gosh, we're getting a Wawa. The whole world stops. We're definitely not getting a Wegmans. But everybody talks about Buc-ee's. I hear there's going to be one in Florida. Jim, that me making all the smooth South Florida comments I saw. Oh, thank you, Jim. Excellent. Thank you, Scott. Damn, now I got to go dig a post hole. Get out there and do it. Dig a post hole. I got to dig a post hole too, but I'm not doing it today. Oh, love Wawa too. Love Wawa. Wawa's great. We got a Wawa. Good stuff. You see, this is what the Ignition Show is. Wegmans and Wawa and Buc-ee's and what's good and what's not good. And what are you using and what are you watching? And what are you seeing? Oh, shout out to Haley Steinfeld here on Nitro. Haley Steinfeld, who was at Pomona hanging out with Caps with her brother Griffin. And I did an unbelievable interview with her. She is the star of the new Hawkeye show on Disney Plus and kills it. She's going to be a huge, massive superstar in about 10 minutes. So I'm glad we got her to a drag race, before she was that big. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you very much. Check out the archive and WFO.